Today we are very privileged to have two authors with us. The first is best-selling author and baseball writer Steve Kettman, who is presenting Baseball Maverick, a wonderful, fascinating look inside the life of a general manager, in this case Sandy Alderson, the general manager for the New York Mets. It's a really cool behind-the-scenes examination of what that job entails. If you like Moneyball, this will be right up your alley. And because Steve is always one to bring in new talent, he found this debut author that he thought he could ask to join him on stage. Be really nice to him. This is his first book event ever. I've heard in his day job he was like the 3-time World Series winning manager. But he's here to talk about walks. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming to Book Passage authors Steve Kettman and San Francisco Giants manager Bruce Bochy.
Too. No, it's good to be here. I really had fun with this book, and Steve will talk about it in a second, but you know, I'm kind of overwhelmed how many people are here today. And I probably wouldn't have showed up if the Dodgers would have beat us last time. It's good to see everybody now. Steve, take over here, but we'll talk some more here soon.
Yeah, believe me, I was watching the score last night closely, thinking, I hope they hold on. But, we won't talk much. I assume a few of you have questions you'd like to ask Bruce, so we can move to that section real quickly, and then afterwards we'll be signing books. If anyone wants me to sign Baseball Maverick, I'm very happy to do that. But if you have any questions about it, just come up afterwards and we'll talk about that, because we're here to focus on Bruce today. And I'll just tell you a little bit of the backstory. I was a San Francisco Chronicle sports writer in the 90s, except in the wrong league. I covered the A's. And I grew up, though, a Giants fan. And at one point, a few years ago, San Francisco Magazine asked me to do an article on Bruce Bochy. Sounds like a good assignment. So I went out, and I'd spent years, talking about sliders or pick-off moves or whatever. But I went out to talk to him, and we just started talking about walking. He goes for long walks. He was talking about loving to walk anytime there's water, by a river, by the ocean, just how much he loved that, how it was a great way to stay fit, of course, but also to clear your head. And I really enjoyed it and put it all in my article, and the editor was fine with it, and life moved on. Well, a year later, I'd only talked to the man one time, and I went up in New York. I saw him at a Mets-Giants game. And I started to introduce myself, because I figured it was just mere courtesy. And he interrupted me, looked me in the eye, and said, "Walking. We talked about walking." So that stayed with me. And then a few years ago, my wife Sarah and I founded the Wellstone Center in the Redwoods down near Santa Cruz. And we do a lot of things for young writers. We have programs which we'd be happy to tell you more about again if you want to come up afterwards. But we started publishing books. We published a book about the late, great Bill King by Ken Korak, who did a wonderful job, Holy Toledo. And I gave the book to Bruce, and I said, take a look. And if you like it, we ought to work on another project, because I'd love to do something about you and walking. And that's how we got here today. So the book is, I think most of you have seen it. It's a fun little book that you can slide into your back pocket. My wife Sarah and baby Coco were in New York recently, and in the book, Bruce talks about being in Central Park with his wife Kim, who's also seated on the side there, and about how they took their boys on a carousel in Central Park. And so Sarah and I were recently in Central Park, and we were walking around, and it hit me, we got to go do the carousel. Or actually, it might have been Sarah's idea, but the point was, it was like the book is something that you can carry around with you in San Francisco or wherever, and just do the walk that's in there, and it's a lot of fun. So, as I said, we don't want to talk a lot. We want to mostly answer your questions, but feel free to ask him anything about the book. He'd love to talk about it, and with such a big group, we're going to need some time to sign. So I think we have, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes to talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can lead off with a question. By the way, it's a terrific book. I've had a chance to read about half of it while we're waiting. Really, on behalf of everybody here and so many other people that aren't here in the Bay Area, especially little kids who grow up thinking that the Giants walk on water. Thank you. And I asked my wife, if I had one question to ask Bruce, what would that be? And I know it's like choosing your favorite kid, which you can't do. But if you had to characterize maybe with just one adjective, one team, the 2010 team, the other team, the 2012 team, and then last year's team, is there one thing that just grabs you about each of those teams' personality?
Wow. And really, they were three different teams. And we'll go back to 10, and I call them the group of misfits. The Dirty Dozen. That's what they remind me of. Aubrey Huff, Pat Burrell. They were different in their way. Then 2012, we kind of put the theme, the motto on them: never say die. I mean, 6 times we faced the elimination there, and for us to be down 2 games to Cincinnati, have to win 3 in their ballpark. They had not lost 3 games at home. I'm talking about consecutive games all year, and to be down 3-1 to the Cardinals. Zito threw that great game, and come back and win the next 3 games to get to the World Series. So that was the never say die group, and last year was kind of evolved through Hunter Pence was a yes, yes, yes group. Yes, we can do this. And, it really, they amazed me last year. And each one was different and amazing in its own way. But quick story on last year, because it went down the 7th game. I mean, you look at the road we went down. Wild card had to beat Pittsburgh on the road, had to beat Washington. They were favored, and they had a home team advantage. Then St. Louis, and of course Kansas City, because of the All-Star game. They had the home field advantage and had to win the 7th game on the road, which really, what happened in the 6th game, usually the odds are so against you to win the 7th game. But when that game was over, the players hug and everything, and the coaches, the staff, myself, we embraced. And I finally got out to Buster Posey, and we hugged, and then when we pulled apart, I mean, it was at the same time when how in the hell did we do it this time? we were even blown away. All 3 different, though. All
Thank you.
special.
Let's see. Well, we got a lot right here, and then we'll go back to you next.
Yeah, Bruce, like this gentleman, I just want to say how much we appreciate you.
Thank you.
You consistently outmanage every other. We've never seen you be outmanaged in a series of games. That's incredible.
I appreciate that.
Sure. My question is, how do your knees handle your walks?
Yeah. Well, that's really why I got into walking. It started with the first chapter, Jesse. My wife and I, we have 2 boys, and we got a lab, and she was, we got her 6 weeks, but eventually she needed exercise, so I started walking her, and I really got into it, and my running days were over. Old beat up catcher, my knees, I just couldn't take the pounding anymore, so.
Dug out to the mound looks pretty difficult.
Yeah. Hunter and a couple players, they ride their little scooters to the park. I said, I'm gonna start taking that to the mound. Anyway, that's my way about it. I could exercise without beating myself up, and then I just started moving it around, going on hikes around Poway where I lived at the time, and then I started taking the city to city, all the cities we played in, and just had a great time doing it, and learning about the cities. But you can't have a better city to walk in. I live across the street from the ballpark, so we walk all over, and my wife's more of a power walker. I can't keep up with her. She's one that really gets me in shape because I'll slow down to a stroll if she's not with me, but she's with me. She keeps the pace going. She's my pace car.
You'll be next. Yeah, right back there.
So, Bruce, I have to echo the two gentlemen before me and say, for all those who were born and raised right here, born here in 1959, Marine General Hospital, we're wearing orange blacks, it's pretty much that day. Thank you again for bringing the championships multiple through
Again,
our
thank
city.
you.
And I'm tempted to ask as my question, what were the exact words of Penn's text to you when he said, "I'm ready"? But I've heard it.
Yeah, there's too many ladies in here. I'll give it to you close that. He said, Skip, Pence here. I'm a blanking, ridiculous offensive weapon right now. I'm ready to help you win. It's time. So,
That's actually pretty funny. That was something along the lines of what I thought it might have been. But and wow, what an addition! It was interesting to hear the other players comment about how much they missed him and what a presence he is. But my question really is, and forgive me because it's not about walking, although you're going to buy the book and want to support it and support you in that. And my wife and I love the hiking and walking. So thanks for sharing that with all of us. The quick question is about. A lot's been written about the championships that you managed through and led, and how chemistry of the teams is such a big part. And I guess what my question is character, I'm assuming, is a huge part of chemistry. And how, can you give some insight into how you kind of read character in a player? What are one or two of the attributes maybe that you look at in a player as you're trying to get that chemistry pulled together?
Yeah, I mean, great question, and it's so important to a team is to have that chemistry. And chemistry, it's not something that just happens. It's something you have to work at. And we talk about it as we start spring training. It's part of my talk almost every year about the importance of chemistry, camaraderie, and really what. I try to do, I try to get the players to play for a higher cause. A lot of times in our game, your personal numbers will determine what you make, and so, in a way, you have to be a little selfish because you want to stay in the game and you want to do well, but at the same time, if you play for a higher cause, and what I'm talking about, for each other, for the fans, and to win a championship, now, you get those players to become unselfish and play for a bigger reason. And the numbers will take care of. You have to convince them that those numbers will take care of themselves if you do that. And so that's kind of what we have. And when I came up here, we felt like Brian Sabian and myself, we felt like we had to change the culture a little bit. This was a club that went out, slugged it, which they had the players to do it. Bonds, Kenton, Rich, really, all these guys. But we want to get more toward pitching and defense, but also, a group of guys that, play, for a cause. And if that cause is big enough, you'll have movement. And so I've been fortunate that we've had the characters in that clubhouse to set aside their own agenda. That's what's best for the team, and they hold each other accountable to doing that.
Thank you.
I want to continue with the questions, but I did just want to point out one thing that I think says a lot about Bruce Bochy and the kind of man he is. We all know him as a baseball manager. Just wanted to mention he's doing this book strictly as a public service. He asked us to donate any proceeds of the book to fund the programs that we have. So we do have, if you go to our website, it's easy to find Wellstone Center in the Redwoods, wellstoneredwoods.org. Next month, we're doing a weekend writing workshop for young people, 18 to 22, which is paid for by the proceeds of the book. So, very cool. It's harder and harder for people who are trying to write books. And so if we can create the writers of tomorrow, that's a great thing. So if any of you know young people who you think could be a good fit, send them our way. It's free for them. All they have to do is send in an essay, tell us about themselves, and we'll take care of them, all on Bruce Bochy. And the other thing is, obviously, publishers like Amazon reviews and reviews on Barnes & Noble, and nothing beats an event like this. But it is nice with a book like this where so many of you have, justifiably positive feelings about Bruce Bochy. Express them. Go ahead and go to Amazon and write that down. If you read the book and enjoy it, write some of that down at Amazon, because it's a great way to just give a little back. When you read the book, you'll feel him talking to you. You'll get to know him a little bit better than you did before, even though you already know him. So keep that in mind as well. So let's get back to the questions. Right back here, please.
Thank you for being here and coming to this event. A quick question that just came to my mind is, are there any similarities in the way a walk unfolds and the way a game unfolds?
She asked if there are any similarities between the walks on how the game unfolds, on how it goes. Yeah, that's a good question too, because sometimes, and I hate to call it an angry walk, but the walk in Milwaukee was kind of that way. We just lost a tough game. There's nothing worse when you lose a game late. In those games, it seems like, and they're more important walks to me almost, because it gets my mind off and clears my head. But that's one of those walks where you're just taking off and you aren't focusing on anything else but just a fast walk to clear your head away from that tough game. Now, if it's a great game, then I'm probably not walking as fast and taking everything in and enjoying it. Or if I'm walking like the one walk we talked about, the Wrigley Field, where walking from the hotel to Wrigley along Lake Michigan, I'm looking at everything, taking all the sights, the sounds, and the smells in. But those tough games, a couple of times, walking across the street, and I got this from Lasorda. I said, man, if I get hit by a Muni here, I might feel better. That's how bad this game will beat you up. So that's how important the walks are. You gotta get it out of your system, or you stay up all night.
Right here.
Hi, Bruce. It's an honor to sit here and be in your company today. Thank you. My son and I got up at 5 in the morning. We came from Sacramento. We were the first ones.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, having Pence back is so huge for the team, and I got to see him in the River Cats rehab, and saw him got to score from first base twice on a ball that he hit so hard at the shortstop he couldn't get his glove up in time to field it. His first game back, the second game of the Cincinnati series, he scores from first base on his base hit off, and I said I got to see him do that twice in person. It was really exciting. So on the book, is there a place you like to stop along the way when you're walking from the ballpark, like to eat or have coffee or something like that?
Yeah, the question was, is there, because they can't hear in the back is why I'm repeating these questions, but is there, some place, first of all, you talked about Hunter Pence, and he's from Sacramento. He got here at 5 in the morning, so, or you left
Got up at 5, yeah.
Got up at 5. But, if there were some places, favorite places I had to stop on during my walks. In the city, from our condo, as Kim and I, my wife, as we walk past the Ferry Building, Pier 23 is probably my go-to place. We love to sit outside and sit on the water, and I love have a crab sandwich there and just relax, and a nice cold beer. That's on the day off though. I don't do that before the game, but that's probably our go-to place. But on the way back, there's a little place called South Beach Cafe that I'll go in there, and we may have either some coffee or a pizza or something. But we'll mix it up once in a while. But those are my go-to places.
Write those down.
Okay, question, the woman in black standing on that.
Hi, my name is Marianne Ravano, and I'm the walk coach for the San Francisco Marin Leukemia and Lymphoma Society team in training. So if you want any tips, I'm happy to get them. Anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for the book on walking, because a lot of times when we go to recruit for our teams, people think they want to run, but race walking is just as effective. And so now I'll be able to hold up your book and say, see, Bruce Bochy does this.
Oh, thank you.
Also lifelong Giants fan.
Thank you very much for those comments. And you know what, if, when, you know, we're just talking about walking, if you didn't hear in the back, but, you know, if it does anything to inspire, you know, people to get out and walk, that's what would make me happy, because I do think we've gotten away from that with the cars, and I think it is a reason why we have a little bit more obesity in society, because I don't think we walk as much. And I know going to Europe, my wife and I took a trip there, and I noticed they walk, and you know, they're moving all the time, and so I do think it's important for your health and for my mental well-being and my physical well-being, but it's just a great way to get to know the city too.
Okay, right over here, please.
Hi, I'm the librarian at Powell High School, and I just wanted to tell you how much your team means to high school students. It gives us a really great way to connect with kids. It's not easy being a high school student these days. And so I work in the library, so I just want to let you know, during that Cincinnati series, we had the game on, there were 300 kids screaming with a great hit. And I just want to say, your organization makes the Giants an easy team to root for, because you do so much in the community in terms of including the legendary players, and that gives us a chance to talk and buy books about those players. And the Junior Giants also, I'm just wondering if you could comment on your philosophy just about being such a good citizen in our neighborhood, because you do make the team a great example for our kids, and I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. She asked me my philosophy about our players or organization being involved in the community and helping out. And you know, I can remember some comments from athletes not too long ago, and sometimes they were called role models, and they go, you know what, we're not role models, this is what we do. But I beg to differ. I really do. I do think these players are role models, and today's player, when I came up, and I signed in 1975, and I was called up to the major leagues in 1978, and I remember players, you know, they felt like, well, you know, I don't need to do that, I just need to, you know, play the game, that's what I'm here for. But our players, I'm so proud of them, and it starts at the top. The culture, you know, we talk about in the clubhouse, but really our ownership, from Larry Bear down to Brian, and it trickles down hopefully through the staff, myself, to the players, that you know, we can impact you know, some things here in the city, and hopefully you know, make it a better city, and through the different charities. And our players really do a great job of getting out and making themselves available. And the Junior Giants is a great fund that gets a lot of kids involved in sports. That you know, if it wasn't for the program, they wouldn't be able to participate or have the wherewithal, you know, with the equipment and everything to play baseball and do some things that we all could when we were young. So we are proud of the fact that our players are really good about getting out, and I can name them all. All of them are involved in something that they help. I know Kim, my wife, we're involved with the prenatal care, and Amicis has joined us, and we've done this for a couple of years for you know, these young girls that need help, and so it's just so important, and it's so easy to do, and it's nice to have the characters we have that do get involved. And thank you for those comments.
Right here, please.
Hi, Bruce. I'm Emerald. I live in DC, actually, and I saw this on Twitter this morning, so this is like unbelievable. I actually I've been wondering about something since 2010, about your approach to managing pitchers, and especially the bullpen. There was that one game against Philly when Timmy couldn't really get through the third inning, and then you had to go to the bullpen, and it just seemed like you had to push 10 buttons and they all were the right ones. And then I remember, I think it was in 2011 when Matty Bum couldn't get through the first inning. It wasn't a playoff game, but 8 runs scored in the first. It's hard to watch the rest. But what do you do when an early game like that happens and you just have to completely approach the rest of the game differently? I also just want to say I was at the 18-inning game this year. I was there 2 hours early, actually. So. It was very cold, but my friend and I were like, if they're not leaving, we're not leaving. So. Anyway, so I'm just really curious about your approach to managing games like that, and also how do you get those starters back on the mound when it's their time again?
The question was how, what is my approach to how I use the bullpen, game management with the pitchers. You're from DC?
I live there now.
Yeah,
I'm from here though.
Yeah, I used to live outside of Washington DC in Falls Church, so that's where I started playing Little League ball, Babe Ruth. But when I go into a game, and I'll be honest, when you get to the postseason, it is a little bit different. I don't care what people say, and I hear managers go, well, this is how we did it during the season. I don't buy that. You do things different. And why I say that is, how I manage the bullpen in April or my starters is going to be different late because you do have to manage them over the course of a season. So you got to keep an eye on them so you don't wear them down and make sure that you have them available all year. Well, you're at the end of the year, so there's not like there's some days there's a tomorrow. You don't know if there's a tomorrow, so every game is so critical. So when I go in a game, I pretty much have it mapped out in my head the night before. I'm thinking, all right, how am I going to do this? Now, you're going to the Philly game, and you mentioned Timmy. It's actually Jonathan Sanchez that started that game. And but anyway, and so Timmy was a big part of that because we had Timmy available. And so I'm sitting down with Dave Rigetti, our pitching coach, and so here's the plan. Johnny's going to, he's starting, but anything happens, and it's funny because it happened again this year, but I want all my setup guys ready. If I got to get out of a jam, they're my best guys because you can lose a game early and the game can get away from you. So, Affel and Romo, these guys, they were on alert early. Then we had the incident where, Johnny hit Utley and things were starting to go awry there. It was, time to bring in somebody. And of course, benches cleared, and that's when Mark Gardner said, no, you stay here, Jerry. We need you to pitch, so you stay ready. But anyway, in that game, Timmy came in. He gave us a couple big outs. I had to go get him, but basically it's all hands on deck, and that's my philosophy. But you want to kind of let them know because they've been pitching the 7th or 8th inning all year, and now here they're coming in early. So now we're in the 7th game in last year in Kansas City in 14, and Hudson's starting the game. So Jeremy's got his little routine. And so I brought him in. I said, put your knee brace on. He'd go down the bullpen, and 4th or 5th inning, he'd come down, put his brace on, go back down. I said, put your brace on now. Stuff hits a fan here quick. You're in a game. And so be ready because I need a bridge to get to Madison. I knew I wanted to get Madison, at least try to get to the 5th inning. Then I could maybe run it out with him. If not, I had Romo Garcia who could help me if I didn't use him early. And so, it's all about, I think, like anything in life, you try to prepare. It's not always going to work. I go back to Cincinnati in 2010, and I took out Johnny, brought in Romo, gave up a 2-run homer. I was sick in my stomach. I think they all work. They don't all work. The only reason they work is because of the talent. These guys buy into what we're doing.
Well, I have to have one for a customer. Did you have a question before?
Yeah, I had a question.
I'll let you have a quick one. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. You just mentioned something that in your plan in last year's 7th game, you were going to use Mad Bum. Because all we heard on TV was that no, Mad Bum is not going to be in the game. No, he needs the rest, and so it was in your plan all along.
Oh yeah, he has. The question was my plan all along were they planning all along to use Mad Bum? And no, I like rings, and I knew I got. That was my plan. Now we'll go back, and I actually I don't know how some people got my email, but they did. Their email. I had to use Bum in Game 4, and if you remember, he went Game 1, and they wanted him to go Game 4 and then Game 7. Well, I don't know if it's going to go Game 7, but we were down, ended up going down 2-1 to Kansas City, and we got Game 4, and everybody's going, you got to pitch Bum, you got to pitch Bum. Well, in my eyes, we were facing their number 4 guy, number 5 guy in Game 4. Shields, their number 1, was pitching Game 5. Well, I had to win both of these games. I couldn't split Game 4 and 5. Now I'm going to go in Kansas City down 3-2 if I split. To win 2 games on the road in Kansas City, we're facing Ventura in Game 6. I knew we had to work it out then. I said, I got to roll the dice. We got to win both games. So we let Volason go in that game, and you know he had his struggles, but we came back against him and won Game 4. And of course, Bum shuts him out in Game 5. So I felt for us to win the World Series, we needed to go in Kansas City 1 game up to give us a margin of error. And so the plan all along was to use them. I could have used them in Game 4, but I knew even if I used them in Game 5, I had them available in Game 7, you know, hopefully for 60 to 70 pitches, and you know, luckily it worked out. But you have a horse like that, you got to run him out there as much as you can. I get it. You know, I didn't want to lose Game 5 by going, you know, R5 against their number 1.
The rest is history. Right?
Yeah.
Let's go well back, so we're getting the whole room. How about right here?
Aside from liking rings, I imagine you dream even numbers like 10, 12, and so on, maybe 16. But do you dream, can you start dreaming odd numbers? The Dodgers, I mean, they really look interesting.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get asked that all the time, believe me, you know, about liking odd numbers and odd years. You know, the funny thing is, I mean, it's, first of all, it's so difficult to do, so hard to do it. And I've been doing this a long time, and to win 3 out of 5 years, that you know, I look back and think of these clubs, and it, you know, blows me away what these guys have accomplished. But you know, I wish, believe me, to win every year. That would be awesome. We're playing this year to win, so we'll give it all we got, sir. I promise you. They'll leave it all out on the field, and we'd like to break this string, but you know, you go, I don't know, it took 50 years to win 1. So. I tell us, I'm all about getting greedy. I'm all about staying hungry, so we'll do all we can to break that string.
And you still got the horse to run out there in October.
Yeah, you gotta be careful you don't wear him down. So I gotta keep an eye on him this year.
Next question, right over here, please.
Hi, Barbara Anderson. I live in Davis, and I left at 10 this morning. Book and how you actually wrote it. I just from what I've been able to read so far, it's really conversational in style. So, A, when did you do it? And B, did you sit down at the computer and do it? Did you dictate it to somebody? Was it kind of a Q&A sort of thing? How did you do it?
I can actually take this one. As the publisher, we worked on it together. So I'm also an author and also a co-writer, so I've done a lot of different collaborative projects. And actually Bruce and Kim Bochy were involved in the project, and we had a series of conversations and went down to spring training, spent some time with Bruce then, talked to him actually just a few days after the Giants won the World Series at the ballpark in his office. And the way the process works is it's his words, and it's crafting them, and then you continue to, he read the whole book out loud more than once, you know, to get the feeling of it. And that's the way you make sure that there's nothing worse than a book that's written where you know that there's been some collaborative help, but it doesn't sound like the person. There was just the Chronicle on Sunday did a review of the new Pedro Martinez book, and it had some the writer was kind of laughing. You know, it's like, indubitably, I wish that, you know, it's just not the right voice at all. And, you know, everybody, you know, Bruce can talk about it, but his voice comes through because we work together very hard to make every sentence be, you know, 100% his voice. Right here.
I was just wondering, so when you and your wife actually get to go on vacation, do you
Not often.
plan
Not
walks?
often.
Well, I was just gonna ask, do you plan walks while, you know, in the places you vacation? And is there anything out of those that are kind of a standout for you?
Yeah, she asked when Kim and I, my wife and I go on vacations, do we plan walks? Yeah, she will plan walks like the Central Park walk. I mean, or walking in New York. I mean,
But those were not vacations. That's
Well,
during
I know.
baseball
Kind
season.
of preface this a little bit. But, you know, she, you know, would kind of organize that. But we did take a trip to Europe. We did a lot of walking.
In 2007.
Okay.
Well, I didn't want them to think we're on vacation all the time. We had no vacation last year. After winning the World Series, you have such a short time frame between spring training
Well, and you don't have
and
summer, right?
commitments.
You don't-
Yeah, there's no summers, so there was no vacation this year. There was no beach and pina colada.
That's another book.
Yeah, I think they're planning to go to Europe again.
We went to Europe in 2007 for our 30th wedding anniversary trip. That was the year before that, actually, but that was our one.
Now he's feeling
We need to give her a microphone.
We've had trips. I don't want to say we haven't had trips,
You said, Bruce, that you read the book aloud. That'd be a great audiobook to follow this. So that's-
We're getting the these days.
Did you tape it?
No, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna sit you down. Are you up for it?
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yeah, I need a little time right now.
Other things to do.
Yeah.
We might have to wait for the off season, but we will definitely have an audiobook out there. Let's see, right back here, please. Good.
I'm wondering if you have a favorite community or some place that's particularly walk-friendly. Corte Madera is applying to be a town that's considered walk-friendly, recognized as walk-friendly. I'm wondering if you found a place that you really enjoy walking in.
Yeah, she asked if I found a place that I really enjoy walking. Well, you know, the walks that I talk about in the book. Now, this is, to be honest, first time I've been over here.
Really?
Yeah, I don't get out. The warden doesn't let me out. You're on the go so much during the season. I mean, this thing just going, and you know, I'm usually at the park by now. To be honest, I made sure I did all my work and had my lineup ready and everything, so I could be here today, being a little bit later. But you know, I just love walking anywhere in the city, from down to the wharf to North Beach. You know, we do have a son that he lives in the city too. He's about 3 miles away, but we will walk to his place. He's over by Knob Hill, and so really anywhere. I remember coming here on the visiting side. We stayed at St. Francis, and so I walked a lot from there too. I mean, it wasn't a very long walk to AT&T, but even from there to the marina, you know, toward the Golden Gate. So I like to, you know, mix it up a little bit, but I will say I got off the ferry here, and I said, it's nice to see the sun, and it's, I'll come over here and try your walks, trust me.
We're gonna go all the way back, right here.
Bruce, I want to thank you for all the great work with the Giants.
Thank you.
I've been, I went to see the second game the Giants ever played in San Francisco. And it's been a long wait, and all that. But then I have a couple of comments I'd like to make. I want to ask you about positioning our first base coach has a third base coach now.
Oh, yeah.
Our third base coach retired. I've noticed we've had a couple guys take off first base, and a couple runs that could have scored, haven't scored. So how do you work with those coaches to
That's hard.
Yeah, I don't need to repeat that one. I think all of you heard it. He asked about the coaches, and you know, even and Flan and I are good friends for long-standing friends over the years. We still had guys thrown out then. We still had guys picked off when Kelly was at first base. It's going to happen. You know, it's not a fact if it is. It's when it will happen. We may not score a guy. I think Roberto's done a really nice job. I do. He's done well with my signs. You know, he had the one incident there where Blanco. He stopped Blanco, but he kept his hands up, so we got away with that call. But they're only going to get better. I think Billy Hayes at first base. He's doing a good job with letting these guys know the pitcher signs. I mean his throwovers and stuff. So it's good. It's not that they're not doing their job. I mean we're going to make mistakes. We made some at second base. To be honest, we don't have a coach there, so it's going to happen. Just like they make errors, but. Flan did the right thing. He was ready to pursue his music, and I miss him. I mean, he's with me forever, and he's still coming up, and he's doing a great job with Comcast. And, he comes in the clubhouse. I told him, "You're working harder now when you coach there for me." All the work he's doing before the game, but I so far I've been happy, really, to be honest with my coaches.
This is so much fun. I think we'd probably all like to stay here for hours. We have to get the manager to the ballpark pretty soon. So we have time for two more questions. If I could get a question on walking or the book first. Right here.
Thanks for all you do. Hopefully the next edition will include, when you're in New York City, walking the High Line.
Oh, yeah.
Can we do that?
Love the High Line.
Where are we talking about? It's possible. We could have a
So
chapter.
fabulous.
In New York City, on the Lower West Side, there was a 1.5 mile long elevated pedestrian walkway called the High Line.
You've walked that?
I have not walked
Kim, have you been there?
When we took the boat ride, we had an off day in New York a few years ago. I always make the New York trip. And my vacation, no. So we saw the High Line, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. It's kind of a new development they built. We actually took the boat cruise. We were tourists there. We had the best time. You can see the outline of the city. Went by the Statue of Liberty and everything, and you can see that High Line you're talking about.
The next edition.
Sounds good. And one last question. Right back here, please.
Hi, Bruce. I'm wondering how you walk around San Francisco without being mobbed.
That's a good question.
Kim, you want to answer this?
It does happen. It does happen. But people are fairly respectful, and usually when we're walking at a fairly good pace, they'll just say good job, or hey Bruce, or people will honk or wave, especially when we're on the Embarcadero where there's lots of traffic. But sometimes people do. Obviously, everybody wants to stop and take a picture, and so that can kind of cramp our style.
No, they are respectful. The one that gets me though is the one that they pull upside in the car and so if you see me, you don't need to honk. I already got 2 steps. I've actually had a few times walks by myself where I've had people join me and they're walking with me for a while on baseball. They're respectful that I want to keep moving and they'll just they'll join me. So that's been a fun deal.
Well, I've been to a lot of book events over the years, but I don't think I've ever been to one as much fun as this one right here. So,
Thank you, Bruce.
If you can all put your hands together.